Hello. I still have a few of these KiwiCo maker crates kicking around in my house that I haven't got round to doing, and we're about to have a little hot spell of weather and I don't feel like weaving or sewing, so I thought it was time to see what I actually had in the KiwiCo maker crate pile. And I have come up with a geometric tiled tray. I keep wanting to say geodesic, which is something else entirely. Now, I've taken off my address label in a very attractive way, and I have, in a very organised, and I'm going to give you a minute to be impressed, I have already cut the tape, so I don't need to awkwardly cut the tape on camera. It's a whole new world for me, this organisation. So let's see what's in the box. Look at that, there we go, it's a geometric tiled tray. So that's the cover sheet, to sort of give you a bit of a design idea, and not a lot on the back, you have to be in a state of play to design, so I'll have to try and do that when I'm designing. So that's just the cover sheet, so we'll get that up out of the way. We then have the booklet, which has some ideas in it as to what you can do with your tiled tray, some design ideas, a few things about general mosaic work. This is just kind of a little information booklet. They don't do written instructions in the maker crates. And then they have a few, you know, sample projects of other projects on the back, and a little bit of a history of mosaics. So that's all very well and good. I'm going to put that over there because I've read it now. So what do we have in here? We've got all the rest of the stuff that we need. We've got unsanded grout, about, I was going to give you a weight on that, but there isn't a weight on that, so I'll just say it's about that much. We've got gloves, which I may or may not remember to use. I will actually use my own gloves because these have probably got latex in them, and I'm a little bit sensitive. I'm a little bit sensitive, you guys. So then we've got some tools here. We've got I'll get that out of the plastic bag so that you can actually see them. And you can enjoy the sound of me opening a plastic bag. There we go. So that, I assume, will be for scraping the grout off. I have done a mosaic project before. It didn't go brilliantly, but it went, and that's the main thing. Stirring stick for stirring the grout, and oh, the bag's closed itself. It's one of those bags that can kind of close itself. We've got this, which is a spacing tool, because I did have a look at the instructions online before I opened the box, so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So when I put the tiles down, I can make sure that they're spaced out appropriately and evenly. So I will put that back in the bag so I don't lose it, and I will probably lose it anyway. I'll put it in with the scraper so that I can see it. And I have lost the stirring stick, so oh, there it is. It's okay. Nobody panicked. So they're all back in the bag so I don't lose them, and I'm going to put them up there where I won't lose it. Alternatively, I can just put them back in the box. Okay. I've got tile adhesive, which is just some glue to stick the tiles down with. I've got some silica gel. I've got the tray itself wrapped in tissue paper. So this is, come off. So the tray itself actually has the tile shapes laser etched in to help with placement, which is going to be a big help for me because I'm not very good at placement. It's just basic cheap wood with a laser etched triangle grid on it. Is triangles a grid? I don't know. Is triangles a grid? Are triangles a grid is what I would have said if I was using English. And also a design sheet so that you can play with your tiles before you commit to a design, which doesn't actually feel like it's the same size as that. Does that feel like the same size to you? I don't feel like that's the same size. Although, okay, so it's not the same size, but I think the spacing on the tray is a little bit wider, and that's why. So that should not be a problem. There's also a mess mat. They always include a mess mat, and what they don't seem to understand is I have really no respect for my crafting tables, so I never use these because I don't care if I get grout or paint or anything else happening on my table. Zero respect for the table. And then last but not least, I'll just put these back in so I don't pack everything up at the end of this bit and lose stuff. We've got the tiles, and the gold ones have exposed themselves. So we've got a little container of gold tiles. And we have, white and black. So the black's more sort of a dark grey. So that's what I've got to work with. That's what I've got to work with. That is what I have to work with in the design aspect. A few little gold ones for accent, and then the bulk of the design will be in black and white. So what I am going to do is go and have a play and figure out what design I'm going to do. I'll have a look at the Maker's Guide because there's a few ideas in there. I mean, this is fine, but it's a bit, you know, it's a bit ordinary. So I will have a think about what I would like to do. There's some of the designs. I don't know that I'll do anything particularly... Oh, I suppose you're supposed to colour that in rather than put your tiles on it, but, you know, they're not the boss of me. So I will decide how I'm going to do this and then decide what I'm going to do with it. And then we will get going. And I also have to decide if I'm going to paint the tray. I don't think I am, but then I think I might regret it if I don't. So I'll get back to you on that. But I probably won't paint the tray, but I probably will say at the end of the video, I wish I'd painted the tray. Okay, I'm going to go and do some designing. So here's the design phase. I knew that I wanted stripes in the design, so I laid out the tiles just to see what the stripes would look like. I was planning on doing one stripe of black, one stripe of white, the whole width of the tray. So I'm just laying out the tiles here just to see how that might look. I thought it might be a bit visually busy, so I also tried solid stripes, which would have run sort of diagonally on this angle, but depends how you're looking at the tray, really. And so that felt a bit better, but also a little bit heavy to look at. But once I had the stripes in mind, I was going to stick with it. But I also got the gold out to do some hexagons because I knew that I wanted to do those as hexagons because I just like how they look against the black and the white. So my initial plan to do one stripe black, one stripe white was a little bit too much. So I changed that, as you can see, to one stripe black, two stripes white. And then I marked it out on the paper pattern. But that did give me a little bit of a problem in that you can use up to 155 black tiles and 155 white tiles, and I wasn't going to have enough white tiles to do all of the stripes. So my initial plan, which was to do hexagons all around in a sort of circular pattern, was changed to fill one of those stripes in with the gold so that I didn't have to use so many white tiles. And I did just scrape in, I think I used 152. And then I just transferred the design to the actual tray itself. I've cut out quite a lot of this, you know. I've got hours of footage and I'm not making you watch it all. I'm very kind. So once I'd transferred it to the tray, which you can see there, that's me having transferred it to the tray with a pencil, it was just a case of sticking the tiles down. So I started out using the dotting glue method that they talk about, where, as you can see, you put a dot of glue in each triangle and then pop your tiles down. It was a little bit fiddly to get started, but once you get the hang of handling these little tiny tiles, it does get easier. I did try tweezers at one point, but they didn't really help because you need to be a little bit dexterous to get the tiles in place. And it took me a while to learn that you can shift the tiles around after you've plopped them on the glue. Plopped is a technical term. So then I decided to try the glue spreading technique, but I didn't use the scraper or the grout applier. I just used the end of the glue bottle, and that worked quite well. It was a bit of a challenge to get the tiles to stay put. It was a balance between getting enough glue on there to keep the tile in place, but not so much that it floats. And I would have to go back quite regularly to make sure that the tiles that I'd already placed hadn't shifted, just because they float a bit on the glue until the glue starts to dry. So if you keep an eye on that and make sure that any that you've touched or knocked while you're placing new tiles are still in place, you're pretty much okay. And right at the end here, you can just see me putting in the last tile, I think. Around now, I'm going to put, there it goes. But I am then also going to have to adjust the second last tile, which is shifting. And that's how it looks before grouting. And then it was grout time. Now the instructions say to add 5 tablespoons of water to the grout, stirring in between each tablespoon to make sure that you get a smooth consistency. But I looked it up because the last time I did a mosaic kit I made the grout way too runny, and an Australian tablespoon is larger than an American tablespoon. So I only put 4 in and that worked perfectly. Ours are 20 millilitres, the American tablespoon is 15 millilitres, couldn't tell you why. Now this was a problem that I struck a few times. I had checked the tiles to make sure that they were all secure, but once I was actually rubbing them with the grout flap, I don't know what it's called, the tiles were lifting. Not all of them, but a few of them did actually lift and have to be restuck. They're fine. You can't really tell now that it's finished which one's lifted up, but I did have some other ones move, which I'll talk about in a second. And it was quite tricky to get the grout right up to the edge of the frame with the spatula thing, so I just used my fingers in the end, with gloves on. And then once that had set for 20 minutes, I started to wipe the grout away just off the surface of the tiles. You don't press too hard. You don't want to take the grout out from between the tiles. You just want to wipe it off the surface. And that took a little while, and I have got grout all up the sides of the tray, but I think I've gotten away with it. And I used, obviously, a sponge, as you can see, damp sponge, but also some damp toilet paper. Clean toilet paper, just damp, because I don't have any paper towels in my house. And that was for sort of the final polish. And here's the finished tray. Now, I really like my design. I'm so pleased with my design. I'm glad I had to play around and sort of thought beyond my first thought with it, because it came out so well. My initial plan was to have 6 hexagons evenly spaced, but I really like this a lot better. I like the gold stripe. I like the black and white stripes. Now, ordinarily, and I have noticed, before anybody comments, I have noticed that I've done a really bad job getting the grout off in some places. Now that I'm out in the natural light, I'm looking at this going, wow. So I will fix that up at some point if I remember. But look how much grout I got everywhere. I got grout all up the sides, because when I was doing the edges, I was doing it with my fingertip to get the grout in, because the scraper wouldn't get the grout right up to the edge. So it's a bit messy. I did get some of the grout off the sides, but not all of it. I got grout on the back of this thing. I've got grout on the outside. I've got grout everywhere. So well done me for not being very good at grouting tidily. Now, ordinarily, when I talk about KiwiCo kits, I talk about the quality of the materials. And in this case, the quality of the materials was, as usual, pretty good to excellent. So the tiles are plastic. I didn't have any that were misshapen or cracked or had seam lines or anything like that. The tray is nice and solid. The spatula was good. The grout was good. The only thing that I would maybe pick up on, and I'm going to pick up on it now, so it's not really a maybe, wrong glue for this project, I think. As far as I can tell, it's PVA, which is a wood glue. Smells like PVA, feels like PVA when you do that, which is how you tell. Don't do that with super glue. And PVA is great for wood and fabric and paper. It's not great for plastic. So that balancing act of having to get enough glue on to make sure that things stay in place while not having so much that things drift around while you're not looking means that in some cases I don't think I got enough glue on, and it's the wrong kind of glue for plastic. So you saw in the footage that one of the tiles popped up. I think I had 3 in total pop up that I had to re-stick while I was grouting. This one here has floated way out of line, and I didn't notice because it was covered in grout. There's a few that have shifted actually during the grouting process. Because it's a white tile next to white grout, it doesn't really stand out, so I'm not that bothered about it, but it would have been nice if it had been where I'd put it in the first place. But overall, I had a really nice time putting this together. As I said, I really like my design. The only thing I would say is what I usually say about the Maker's Crate, and that is the video instructions are great, and I don't mind having video instructions now. I've kind of warmed to it, but I would like Cliff Notes. I don't know why I said Cliff Notes. We don't really have that in Australia, but I would like a shorthand notes on the instructions with the key information so that you don't have to go back. So they tell you things like how many of the black and white tiles you can use, which is 155, how many tablespoons of water to use. All of that sort of key information could be written out on the back of the booklet where they've got their little promotion for their other crates, so that you don't have to keep referring back to the video. You've got that key information, and then you can watch the videos for the full instructions. I think that would be a nice touch, and it wouldn't really cost them any more because it would be on the back of the booklet anyway. But that is how it has come out. I'm really pleased with it. I don't know that it will stand up to heavy use as a tray, although what I would use a tray for, I don't know. I'm not going to have drinks by the pool because I don't have a pool. So I might just stand it up as a piece of decor, because I don't fully trust these tiles to stay in place with them shifting around so much. But I like it. It's a good thing, and I had a great time doing it. So that is the KiwiCo Maker Crate geometric tiled tray. If you subscribe to KiwiCo, it's a different kind of subscription service. You don't get the same thing as everybody else every month. Like a lot of subscription crates send out everybody the same thing. KiwiCo just sends you a crate that you haven't already had. And it could be this, it could be something else. It's not the same for everybody every month. So that's why I don't mind hanging on to these for several months before I actually show you what they're like. I am possibly going to go, look at the grout in there. Look at that. I am so tidy. I am a very neat and tidy person. You should see my table. I'm going to go and scrape some grout off my table, scrape some more grout off this, and you enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you next week with something else. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.